Now today we have the Ford Motorcraft Oil filter. Right off the bat, look at the size of this filter. It is absolutely massive. Comparing this to a late model Subaru oil filter, not only is the diameter much larger, but just the overall dimensions of the filter. Now you may be thinking this must be made for their larger application, their larger engines, and you're absolutely right. This is made for the F250, the F150, the E-Series, Shelbys, the Expeditions, Navigators, so they're large engine applications. Some really cool points just to point out before we cut open this filter. Number one, this runs for $4 online, and the reason why that's a very good price point is number one, you're getting the factory filter for your Ford, but number two, take a look underneath this base plate, and you have this reddish material. That is the anti-drainback valve, and I'll talk more about this valve once we cut open the filter. But the reason why this is a nice point or price point for this filter is this is a silicone anti-drainback valve. You typically find silicone anti-drainback valves on filters that cost $6.50 to $7 or above. So the fact that this is $4 and it includes a silicone anti-drainback valve is a really nice feature. Another cool feature is take a look at the end of the cap here, a number of indentations. In fact, there are 50 in total. The reason why that's a nice feature is not only do you have a lot of indentations to get your hand on here, and it provides so much grip for you to not only tighten the filter, but when you're ready to remove the filter, there's a lot of surface area to grip, and you can certainly feel it if you're one of these guys that just use your hands. If you're using a tool, even better, because now there's more area, surface area to get a good grip around that with that tool. This is made in the USA. In terms of efficiency, it's 80% efficiency at 20 microns or above. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead, cut it open, and see what we have here. Okay, so let's see what we have here. And right on top, this is a metal tension clip. As you can see, it's a stamped piece of steel. This just keeps all of the parts nice and compact inside the filter. Now typically you'll find something like this or a coil spring. Wix XP, Wix XP, K&N, among some other filter manufacturers, they run a coil spring. They both have the exact same function, okay? So this is what Motorcraft is using, and then this is the business end of the filter. We'll talk more about this in a second. Now, again, this is an 80% efficiency filter at 20 microns. The media itself is a blend of cellulose and polyester. Typically, the manufacturers add polyester to give it some more strength, last longer in high heat applications, of course, with hot engine oil and that sort of thing. Metal end caps and a steel metal center tube. Down here is a pressure relief valve. I'll talk more about that in a second as well. Now, again, this is a $4 filter. And for $4, this does have some advantages for sure. Not only the silicone anti-drainback valve, but the fact that we have metal end caps. Not every oil filter at this price range or above run metal end caps. There are some that use a paper, cardboardish end caps. For example, Frame Extra Guard, they don't use metal end caps. The factory OEM Subaru oil filters, they don't use metal end caps. So that is a nice plus. For the price, you're getting metal end caps. Every filter I've come across, they're always a metal center tube. But some drawbacks is, if you want to nitpick, is the spacing. As you can see, the spacing isn't incredibly neat. When you compare that to Purolator, let me give you some other examples. This is a Toyota factory oil filter. And just look at the spacing on this. Absolutely a beautifully made filter. I believe Denso makes Toyota's oil filters. But you can just see the spacing. And even if you compare that to, I have a Volkswagen Audi filter right here. Again, check out the spacing. But now, again, these filters, the Toyota and the Audi, I think the Audi is something like, gosh, maybe $8-10. The Toyota is also around $8. So you're paying a lot more money for them, double the price. But nonetheless, the way I see it is, if I had, for example, a Ford Expedition, I would look in the owner's manual on how often to change the oil. And if it states to replace the oil every 6,000 miles, I would replace the oil every 6,000 miles and just use the factory oil filter. And that's just the way I feel about it. Everyone is different. The bottom line is, if you do want more efficiency, if you want more higher micron rating, if you want to go longer mileage, then you have to get a filter that either has a blend of synthetic along with cellulose and polyester. For example, that would be your Napa Gold. That would be your Purelator 1 filter, or you can go full synthetic filters. Purelator Boss, Wix XP, Amsoil, Royal Purple. Those are fully synthetic oil filters. Napa Platinum, but you're paying a lot more money for them. They last longer, but you're paying more money for them. That's the bottom line. Okay, so that's what we have here. Metal end caps, metal center tube, polyester, cellulose blend, 80% at 20 microns or above. Now, this is for there. Now, this is the anti-drainback valve. The whole point behind this valve is when you shut off the engine, instead of having all the engine oil drain out of the filter, this valve retains the oil inside the filter. So the next time you start your vehicle, not only do not have a dry start, but there's oil readily available. Now, this is the lowest costing filter I've come across that includes a silicone anti-drainback valve. Now, the reason why that's a really nice feature, hold on, let me give you an example, hold on. On your lower costing filters, typically in this price range, you get a nitrile rubber anti-drainback valve. The difference is the temperature, and silicone just lasts much better compared to nitrile rubber in high and low temperatures. The really cool thing is, this is the first manufacturer, right on the box it tells you the temperature range, and it's down to -75 degrees Fahrenheit up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit this can withstand. What happens with nitrile rubber over time is that it becomes brittle, and silicone just can withstand those temperatures a heck of a lot better. And typically you're talking $6.50 to $7 on average to get an oil filter with an silicone anti-drainback valve. That is an excellent feature to have for $4, I think $3.90 for. That is a really fantastic feature to have directly from Ford. And then on the bottom here, this is a relief valve. The whole point behind this valve is in very cold applications, if for whatever the reason, if the engine oil cannot circulate and get in the engine, or if this filter is just completely clogged, if this just sludged up with old engine oil and it just needs to be replaced, there's a little valve in here that opens up and allows engine oil to at least get in the engine so it doesn't starve the engine of any motor oil and doesn't seize the engine. That's the bottom line. So just to give you, some manufacturers, they put on the end here, but essentially it's something like this. A little valve would open up, and when that valve opens up, at least you have oil getting back in the engine. And that's essentially what you have here. They do test this extensively. I did read some marketing material on this. They do test these things up to 200 psi in terms of the burst pressure. So they'll apply 200 psi inside the filter for 60 seconds just to verify it doesn't burst, and it doesn't burst. Typically they'll even, I think it was something like 25,000 cycles at 125 psi just to make sure there's no leaks and everything is in good shape. So for $4, it's really, I think, a fantastic value. If you want to nitpick, again, it's the spacing and the gluing. You know, it's a little messy in a sense, but again, don't forget, this is $4. I mean, I can't stress that enough. It's a $4 filter. And I've seen, if you've seen some other filters we've done in the past, some filters could be $7 or more, and it looks something similar to this. So, not too bad in my book. So I hope this gives you a pretty good idea. I did come up with an idea, because since this works with a Shelby, I think I'll try to get a Ford Racing oil filter and compare that to this one, just to see what the differences are, because to be quite honest, I imagine it's silicone, synthetic media, but I'm curious to see what the differences are. But that being said, thank you for watching, and by the way, if you do want to see any oil filter reviews, just leave a comment. I do try to keep on top of that, and we'll keep on adding to the list here.